We've brought you stories about feats of speed on land and in the skies. Now we're taking to the water with a craft hailed as the fastest sailboat on Earth.
It looks like something straight out of Star Wars, sporting marine wings called foils, which pretty much means it's flying across the water. The Hydroptere, that's French, combines advanced technology with aeronautical engineering to rise above the surface. This flying French boat was 20 years in the making and is made of carbon fiber and titanium. Using the foils, the vessel can travel at 20 to 45 knots. Translation time, that's 37 to 85 kilometers an hour. And it can accelerate to top speed in just 10 seconds. That's faster than a 500 horsepower speedboat. Once 10 knots are reached, the wings generate an upward thrust to raise the boat, similar to the wings of a plane. At 50 knots, the pressure of the water on the wings reaches 32 tons per meter square. That's almost triple the kind of pressure exerted on the wings of a fighter jet at just over Mach 1.
People have been trying to go fast in boats forever, from South Sea Islanders to people who race yachts privately.
A hydrofoil is pretty normal technology in sailing in that you always have appendages in the water. The modern hydrofoil in the new sailing applications are foils that lift boats out of the water as opposed to foils that stop boats from drifting in the water like your keel or rudder. Those are all foils, but the hydrofoils we're talking about in the Hydropter are lifting foils.
What was apparently seeming like magic to lift up above the water started becoming the norm once the materials that people were using to build the boats became light enough and strong enough to handle the loads and to make the craft light enough to be able to lift up off the water.
The sails are made of carbon and are hoisted to 28 meters high, almost the heights of Rio de Janeiro's Corcovado, without the feet.
North Sails is involved in the design and building process of the sails for the boat. It's a very important part of getting the boat to go as fast as possible, is getting the foil shapes of the sail outside the water working optimally. North Sails built the sails out of a carbon laminate made on a 3D mold. So we built the sail in one piece. We have an actuating mold bed that our sails are built for. So the cloth is actually made on the bed for that specific sail.
In 2009, the Hydroptere broke a sailboat speed world record when it sustained a speed of 52.86 knots for 500 meters in just 30 knots of wind.
There was a big school of people around the world experimenting with multi-hulls and with foiling. And Hydropter was one that really pushed the limits. Started out as a very agricultural project from the French, and these guys persevered, and eventually they got the craft so stable and so reliable and improved the rig and the sails and the foils. Every single time they went out, they modified something, and eventually they were able to do speeds in excess of 50 knots all afternoon.
I was embarked in this crazy project whose name was Hydroptere. So I contributed to the very first design of the Hydroptere, and this boat, which was designed to sail at 30 knots, now has got the world speed record at more than 50 knots.
Currently, the French team is attempting to break the present sailing record held by Australian Paul Larson of 65 knots with a new prototype dubbed the Hydroptere Rocket. They're expecting to exceed 80 knots, which is 150 kilometers an hour.
Our goal is to get 80 knots with only 20 knots of wind. That means the speed of the boat is 4 times the speed of the wind. This has never been done before. One great challenge is for the foil, and to get a foil that is able to work safely and efficiently at very high speed over 60, say 80 knots.
Okay, so it's a really fast boat, but other than thrills and spills, how does it help the weekend sailor type?
The next thing that happened in foiling is that yachtsmen started thinking, well, if they can do it, so can we. and they started putting it onto racing dinghies. I believe that in the Olympics, in maybe 2 to 3 Olympics time, we will have foiling boats in the Olympics. If they're not moths, they will be catamarans. And that is the future of yachting. It makes yachting very, very exciting. It starts making people who go kiting and who like windsurfing start looking at yachting as an extreme sport of huge excitement.
The technology used by the Hydroptere is set to change the face of sailing. All in all, good value for all those water babies out there.